The Senate will come back to order. And what a productive order it is. 2 bills? Yeah, I was gone. Y'all got 2 bills done? Is that what it was? All right. Senate will come back to order. Secretary Reed, House Bill 1193.
House Bill 1193 by Representatives Erwin of the 32nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 20 of the OCGA relating to education so as to promote and advance statewide literacy and reading education efforts, to substantially revise the Georgia Early Literacy and Dyslexia Act to provide for related matters, to appeal conflicting laws for other purposes. Mr. President, the Committee of the Senate on Appropriations recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Tillery, Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Appropriations offers the following substitute to House Bill 1193, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to education so as to promote and advance statewide literacy and reading education efforts, to provide for funding for school-based literacy coaches in all public schools in this state with students in any of grades kindergarten through 3, to encourage families to have their children attend school or a home study program beginning at age 5, to provide for literacy coaching endorsements for certified professional personnel, to revise the Georgia Early Literacy and Dyslexia Act, to provide for definitions to provide provisions of said act relative to the selection of and requirements for universal reading screeners, and for other purposes. Mr. President, Senator Tillery of the 19th offers the following amendment. Amendment 1, amend the Senate Committee on Appropriations substitute to House Bill 1193 by replacing lines through the end with the following: to amend Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to education so as to promote and advance statewide literacy and reading education efforts, to provide for funding for school-based literacy coaches in all public schools in this state with students in any of and for other purposes. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Recognize the Senator from the 19th.
Thank you, members of the Senate. I bring to you House Bill 1193. Almost 4 years ago now, our state began to address literacy. We realized, thanks to the efforts from the senator from the 4th, from Statesboro, that our 3rd grade reading level was, at best, 36%, I think, in most schools. It fell to a level of 29% over this time period that we've been watching it. And that simply is not sufficient. I heard someone say just a few days ago that up until 3rd grade, you learn how to read. And after 3rd grade forward, you read to know how to learn. There's a lot of truth in that statement, as funny as it may sound. If someone's not reading on the 3rd grade level, we already know that that's what we use as a prediction for our prison beds for 2 decades later. And it also is somewhat disconcerting since we spend so much on education overall. You know, the budget itself, 54% is spent on education, 38% total for K-12. Billions of dollars each year, and I think this year it eclipses $13 billion in the QBU formula. So not only is it a huge issue for us to resolve from workforce, it's a huge issue for us to resolve from a dollar standpoint. And if only 29% of kids are reading on grade level, then that doesn't work well for employers, it doesn't work well for families, and it certainly does not work well for schools. The House has been working on a proposal. I want to back up a little bit more. I told you 3 years ago we began working on this as a dyslexia pilot, looking at screening for schools and seeing how dyslexia was affecting our reading programs. Thanks to the senator from the 4th, we moved forward in that and also set up the Literacy Council. This Literacy Council's been in commission now for 3 years, 4 years, 3 years, and has met around the state, visited with various schools, visited various administrators, and also worked with our RESA districts. Through their deep effort, we arrive at House Bill 1193. The House's version set up a system to put coaches in classrooms, funded it through a QBE formula. They also set up a proposal to have regional coaches, and then set up several task force and other entities that seemed a little bit heavy on the bureaucratic side to the Senate. The Senate's version, in your committee substitute, stripped out a lot of that bureaucracy, eliminated the Literacy Council, which has been in place for 3 years for the purpose of getting us to today's event, and focused more on the classrooms. In fact, the Senate's version pulled the literacy coaches out of what's in the QBE formula, meaning that local systems would have to fund 20% of each coach, stuck it instead into a non-QBE grant, meaning that the state could pick up the entire share. And the Senate's version of the budget that you passed just a few days ago included over $70 million to put a literacy coach in every single K-3 school in Georgia, 1,313 coaches. There's an amendment you're going to see that's placed on your desk. It's a little big for amendments that we normally have, but I want to walk you through how this amendment interacts with the Senate Committee on Appropriations substitute to 1193. In section 1.1, the name stays the same. It stayed the same through every single version that we've had. It's the Georgia Early Literacy Act of 2026. Section 1.2 addresses the coaches. We put that up front for a reason. We don't think the bureaucracy is the most important thing. We don't think task force, councils, or anybody at Governor's Office of Student Achievement or DOE are the most important things in this bill. We think the most important things in this bill are what we're accomplishing in the classrooms. So the Senate's committee substitute and the amendment you see take in place coaches at the very front of this budget. We state that coaches, literacy coaches in each school, shouldn't be doing other things. They should spend no less than 70% of the school day in the classroom. They should have no other activities like coaching and mentoring. They should literally, while they may be doing coaching and mentoring as it relates to literacy, that we don't want them to have other administrative duties. In section 1.3 goes to the RESAs, the Regional Education Service Agencies. We're going to provide oversight and coaches to help with implementing the coaching program at our RESA districts. And we walk through the experience and the training needed to be a RESA coach. In section 1.4, the Professional Standards Commission is going to create a literacy coaching endorsement, and there will be a budget impact there of a couple of $100,000 that you'll see reflected, most likely on any type of conference committee report that may include House Bill 974 later on. And we also address things related to dyslexia. It's the intent of the General Assembly that early literacy instruction shall be comprehensive, that shall focus on structured literacy and foundational literacy skills. We're talking about phonics, guys. It shall align with the science of reading. There's no reason for us to do something that's to break or create a new will when the will that's working for other states isn't already broken. And it's going to be anchored in high-quality instructional material. The Senate's version allows, or the Senate's amendment is slightly different from the committee substitute and allows the high-quality instructional materials to still be picked by the task force and relate back to things we were otherwise doing in the literacy bill. In section 2.2, you will see that the State Board of Education shall prescribe high-quality instructional materials, kindergarten through the 12th grade, and notwithstanding any provision of law to the contrary, it shall be the policy of this state that only high-quality instructional materials that are aligned with the science of reading are going to be able and available for state funds. Local boards of education and other public school governing bodies can approve high-quality materials, and we want to make sure that we're still involving the local governments with this literacy and endeavor. In section 2.4, you'll see we tie back in again some of the stuff related to dyslexia, and we also support the creation of a state literacy director. This is something we saw done in Mississippi. We think it's important for someone to actually be tasked with this, as important it is for the state as a whole. And you will see the funding for that person most likely reflected in House Bill 974 later on. The House requested that we re-include their task force, the Georgia Literacy Task Force, into our version of 1193. The amendment will include the task force. The Senate Appropriations Committee's first substitute did not. One thing that we did agree on, though, with the House in the elimination of bureaucracy is to sunset the Literacy Council. As I told you, I don't think we'd be at the position we are today had the Literacy Council not began convening 3 years ago. Many of you in this room have had a part of it. You have constituents who are parts of it. It involved members from the Department of Education, the governor's office, different legislators, different RESA districts, and of course local boards of education, and parents of children who were not on grade level reading at that time. The good work cannot go unheralded. It has brought us to where we are today. But one thing that this bill does, House Bill 1193 does, is sunsets some bureaucracy. The council has served its purpose. It has done us a great job, and the members of that council are due our highest praise. But what we should do in government is always be evaluating whether or not it's needed any further as we move now into this new bill and into the Literacy Task Force. We don't think it's any longer needed, and we want to take the funds that were previously devoted to it and use it in other parts for literacy. In section 3.2, the amendment to House Bill 1193 states that children shall be enrolled by their 6th birthday. You may have not known it used to be by their 7th birthday in schools. And that you see that on line 717 through 721. It also states, if you look in section 3.3, that school systems shall offer full-day kindergarten programs. In the past, that was a may. I think most of them already did, but we wanted to go ahead and update the code while we were here. And it should be the policy of the state that before any child is enrolled in 1st grade, a state support or any other of the state-supported primary grades, that he or she shall attend a full-day kindergarten program unless he or she has been assigned as ready for 1st grade, which is provided for in another section of this bill. Assessments. You know we do assessments at various times for our children in K through 3. The Senate committee substitute, the original House bill, and the amendment you see all agree in one space, and that is that we should evaluate our children in 1st grade before they are promoted, make sure that they're already reading on grade level then. The amendment, the committee substitute, and the original House bill provide different ways for parents to be informed that their children may be held back. But what we do stop here is any type of social promotion to make sure that a child is ready to proceed out of 1st grade and that they are reading on grade level or understanding the science of reading or understanding our reading programs before we just socially promote them to a higher grade. And it sets up a procedure in place if a parent wishes to appeal that. Section 3.4 continues this, and you'll see it involves the State Board of Education in adopting a policy that doesn't just socially promote, or when a child is significantly at a risk of not attaining grade level reading proficiency. Section 4.1, as we get to the end, makes this bill effective upon the governor's signature or it becoming law without him signing so as approved by law. And all parts or any other type of article that is in conflict with this act are thereby repealed. Mr. President, that's the presentation as to House Bill 1193, the committee substitute, and the Amendment 1. Happy to take any questions, or I'll be happy to yield the well and let others speak.
You do have one question, Senator. Recognize the Senator from the 38th, excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Yo?
Yes, sir.
First, thank you all so much for your hard work on this. I know it's been some work that was invested in this, and I think it's going to produce some great dividends across the state of Georgia. One thing that I've been concerned about is all of the hands that are in the pot. And if we look at some of the other states that have increased reading scores, you don't have so many agencies involved. And so I'm curious about Section 2.4, the director of the Office of Student Achievement. There's going to have a state literacy director that reports to them.
Can you tell me which, are you talking about the committee substitute or the amendment?
The amendment.
The yellow
page 21.
copy or the green?
Yep, page 21.
Okay, page of the amendment. Okay.
Can you speak a little more about the
Section
state
2.
literacy director? Is this somebody that's going to kind of serve as a coordinator that kind of leads the efforts and make sure all the folks are kind of singing on the same
Is it
tune?
2.1? I'm sorry, I was in the committee in the amendment, and I want to make sure that I
On
wasn't in the
page
committee
21, section 2.4.
2.4 of 21.
Line 532.
Gotcha. Yeah, so the state literacy director, that will be housed at the Governor's Office of Student Achievement for now.
Okay.
I think we have a really, really good one, and a lady named Amy Denty that already works at the Department of Education. I'd love to see if she gets hired for that position. But that will be a coordinator role. Its job titles and its duties will require oversight and maintenance of amendments and making sure that we align the state literacy plan, that it stays aligned with what the stakeholders provided for in OCGA 20-31 or 20-2-153-1.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think that was a very important role, so thank you.
Recognize the senator from the 37th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
I appreciate the work on this. I know literacy is really front and center to our education system. I was surprised in the sub here on line 718 and 721, changing the compulsory. Does this change the compulsory attendance age for school from 7 to 6?
It does. Yes, sir.
That's a massive policy shift, isn't it true?
It's a policy shift. I think right now, though, that most children are going to school by the age of 5. And so I'm not sure how many folks it's really going to affect. But all children enrolled for 20 days or more in public schools of the state prior to their 6th birthday shall become subject to the provisions of this article.
Yeah, again, I just appreciate the clarity. I needed to make sure I was reading this properly. To your point, most kids go to school at age 5 for kindergarten, but changing the command that the state has on families is when their kids shall be in school by law. That's a big policy shift. I just want to make sure members understand what that is. I don't support that as a matter of policy, but I just wanted a clarification. I appreciate your clarity.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, I'm happy to yield the well if there are no further questions. Okay.
Recognize the senator from the 35th.
Thank you so much. Does the senator yield?
Yes, sir.
Thank you again. Great work on this, and it reads pretty well, kind of logical, so really appreciate that.
I'm just glad you can read it, Senator.
Yeah,
There's only 29% of our third graders could.
Yeah, exactly. And not all of us began reading, well in our early years. So is it true that there's some kids that it takes a little time before they can get their sea legs under them when it comes to reading?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us more about the assessments of first graders and how that, I just want to hear a little bit more about what this bill does and looking at your other options, how you chose that over assessing maybe second graders, that type of thing. So you can share more about that.
Yeah, it starts probably about page 33, 34. But the report shall include, but not be limited to, information on grade level reading proficiency. And we actually want that same report to come to the General Assembly each year as well, so we can track whether or not the implementation of this bill has been effective. There's an old saying that, the only things that actually get done are those things you check behind and make sure happen, right? So we want to make sure that we're following behind and making sure that those things are happening.
Thank you. Does the senator yield?
Yes, sir.
Would those assessments be via computer or like computer-based? Because the younger the child and how you do the assessment can be a challenge. So can you help clarify that when it comes to assessing our first graders?
Right. I don't think we specify that it has to be computer-based or not. What we are relying on, again, is those literacy coaches and classroom teachers and RESA coaches to tell us if they're on grade level or not. And if the child is not on grade level, what we want to stop is the social promotion of just saying, okay, well, you'll be somebody else's problem next year. We want to get to the root of that problem, solve that problem before the child is socially promoted, so that when they get to the second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, that they're able to actually read what we're counting on them being able to read for the purposes of continuing their learning.
Okay. And is it true that it's a possibility that whatever tool is used could inadvertently hold back a greater number of first graders than what we anticipated, which could cause some significant population challenges with our elementary schools? How do we account for that?
It very well could. Well, of course, we hope that doesn't happen. We hope that going back to teaching phonics instead of some of the ways we've taught literacy over the past 10 to 15 years would alleviate that problem. But you're right, Senator, which is, again, why when you get down the lines about 810 through 823, we want that report coming back to the General Assembly each year. What we don't want to do is bury this issue.
Right.
For far too long, and I think the senator from the 4th raised it first with his local school superintendents, is why were you not telling our community that only 30% of kids are reading on grade level? Why weren't you telling us, let's say it backwards, that 7 in 10 students in our schools weren't reading on grade level? We think that employers, we think that teachers, we think that just civic-minded individuals would have caused this issue to fester up to the top much quicker had they known. And if we can continue to get that report, while it might be causing more people to stay in first grade, if they're being promoted to second grade, but they can't read the material once they get there, then what good are we really doing for them anyway?
Yeah, I think you make some good points. Senator Yield, for one final question.
Sure.
Does this bill acknowledge or kind of work in tangent with any efforts for pre-K, being that we're assessing first graders? That doesn't give our schools a lot of time to get some kids ready. Everybody comes into kindergarten in very different ways, or even coming into first grade in very different ways. Does this bill kind of amplify or speak to any efforts when it comes to pre-K literacy education?
Right. It does speak to the fact that schools are no longer voluntarily able to have pre-K programs, that if they're going to have kindergarten programs, that it's mandatory now that they have a pre-K program as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Recognize the senator from the 55th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the gentleman yield?
Of course.
We certainly do applaud this move, bringing Georgia in line to be a leader and not trailing in such states as Mississippi. I always thought that when you were trailing Mississippi, you were pretty bad off. But to what extent have we looked at what Mississippi did to improve their literacy rate? Would you share with us how that has played a part, if at all, in moving this legislation?
Well, I'm probably the second best person in this chamber to present that to you. The senator from the 4th, I think, can speak to that even better. But essentially what we said is, why do we need to create a new model if somebody's already been able to move from 48th in reading to 6th? And that's literally what the state of Mississippi did. So why do you not just pick up their model and adopt it? So in many, many ways, what you see in the Senate committee substitute and then the amendment there too, that's exactly what we tried to do. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. Let's just use what people are already doing, and what worked for your family, my family, the families in this room, and the families before for the past century.
Senator, is it not true that this is one of the best pieces of legislation that I feel that I have the privilege of voting on this year?
Well, Senator, I'm not going to say that's because I'm carrying it, but I think that probably has something to do with it.
Thank you, sir. You're very kind.
Mr. President, if there are no other questions, I'll yield the well.
There's
One
no
more.
other questions. I don't
Okay.
think it's Senator 20th over there. His light's on. There he is. Okay.
Good job, Senator. Would you yield for a question, please?
Sure. Yes, sir.
So my understanding is the compulsory age for school attendance in the state of Georgia is age 6 currently, under current statute.
Okay.
Is that not correct?
If the senator so speaks, it may be so.
It's just age, you have to go to school age 6 to 16.
Gotcha.
And then this bill does not change that.
Understood.
Thank you.
No other questions, Senator.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. I urge your favorable consideration of House Bill 1193 as amended by the Senate Appropriations Committee and then as to Amendment 1.
Recognize the senator from the 4th. Speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I want everybody to know that that I am in favor of this bill. I support it and will vote for it, the Georgia Early Literacy Act of 2026. I have been so pleased over the last several years to work so closely with the chairman of education in the House. And we all know, as he stated so many times, we want every child in Georgia to be reading on grade level. I appreciate and respect the work on literacy that the Senate has done, all of y'all in this room, the House has done in their chamber, and of course the governor's staff. Just remember, all the work that's been done on the literacy stuff has happened in only 3 years. 3 years. Not 3 12-month years, 3 months each year. We've done all this work in 9 months, people, and that's what happens when people work together on things. It all started in April of 2023 on Senate Bill 211, which created a Georgia Council on Literacy. We identified 4 working groups: birth to 5, K to 3, our college and universities, teaching our students how to be teachers, and then how well are our communities involved in literacy. But we also passed a great bill, House Bill 538, which brought back the science of reading. Most of the people in this room, I think all the people in this room, learn how to read based on phonics. Now our students are really learning how to read based on phonics. Prior to April 2023, all we were told in Georgia was how proud we are of our graduation rates. Oh, we're so good. We graduated 89.9% last year, and this year we graduated 90%. Let's all give an applause and thank everybody for it. Now we know the graduation rates were not reflective of the true answer. The true answer was our children could not read. Our students could not read. We were not told that in 2019, even prior to COVID, everybody wanted to blame this on COVID, but we were not told in 2019 prior to COVID that only 36% of the students in Georgia were reading on grade level. In fact, one of my counties, which the senator from the 19th now represents, it was 29% were reading on grade level. We were not told that our reading scores in 2010 were higher than they were in 2019, prior to COVID. Y'all tell me why nobody told us this. Y'all tell us why the Department of Education didn't step up and tell us why this was not true. Let me tell you who did tell you it was like that. The Education and Youth Committee in the House, and the Education Committee in the House, and the Education and Youth Committee in the Senate. We told you that the 3, 5, and 8th grade reading levels were severely low. And not only did we tell you that in Georgia, Senator from the 26th, we were able to tell you in your particular district. We were able to tell you, Senator from the 14th, in your particular district. In my district, Senator from the 4th, we were able to say in each individual county and each individual school what the reading score was. And you know what? Y'all were shocked. Y'all could not believe what we were saying. Y'all were shocked. More than that, I think you were embarrassed about it. I was embarrassed to know that children in my county couldn't read. And I was embarrassed to know that we were the greatest state in the nation, but yet our children couldn't read. And then you ask us, you said, why? Why is this happening? And then you said, what can we do about it? And that's what we're doing about it. I actually had one of the people from another chamber called me one day. I was at the office working one Sunday afternoon, and they said, I just got back from this conference, and called me by my first name, which I'm not supposed to repeat, but he called me, he said, I can't believe, he said, I'm so embarrassed. I said, what are you embarrassed about? He said, I didn't realize our children couldn't read on grade level in Georgia. And he said, it's all my fault. I said, what do you mean it's your fault? He said, I've been up here 18 years and nobody's ever told us that. Now we're telling you that. In less than 3 years, which is only 9 months, the General Assembly has introduced and passed the following bills. I want you to remember this, because this will tell you where we come from on this stuff. We passed a bill creating the Georgia Council of Literacy, which the senator from the 19th said a few minutes ago has really been the foundation of all this. And then we coupled that with the with House Bill 538, which brought back phonics. We also passed a bill that tested all students 3 times a year in K through 3 on their reading skills. And if they didn't meet certain levels, then they were given an individualized program. We also passed a bill to require dyslexia testing in grades K through 3. What about that great big safety bill, school safety bill we passed last year? What about the bill that we passed to eliminate electronic devices in all K through 3 classes, or K through 8 classes? And what about this year, the bill that I thought I saw back in the back, but it's not there, that we passed a bill to eliminate electronic devices on 9 through 12. What about the bill we passed to increase teacher leave days, 3 to 5? What about the bill we passed over the House earlier today, Senate Bill 150, to a return to work bill for teachers? What about the math bill we passed a few weeks ago? What about the bill that Senator from 38 passed last year to eliminate sight words in the classrooms? What about the bill that Senator from 50 introduced this year addressing absenteeism? What about the bills we had to address the accountability of school boards and superintendents for the lack of handling the finances in the school? Teacher tax credit bill that we passed here in this thing. We've got a bill coming up to look at student teacher pay. We got bills dealing with vision and hearing, and a great bill on excellent teacher preparation. And now we got House Bill 1193. Look what we've done in 3 years, in 3 months a year, when we decide as a General Assembly to work together. Yes, I'm proud of Mississippi. Yes, I'm proud of Alabama. And I'm proud that they took us under their arms and shouldered us and helped us build our literacy bill on what they've already accomplished. I am so proud that they did it. But you know who did it in those states? The state school superintendent did it in those states. Guess who did it in Georgia? Everybody in this room is the one that did it in Georgia. And everybody in the House chamber is the one that did it in Georgia. The General Assembly really tackled the literacy bill. And you know what we're finding out? We're finding out that as literacy rates goes up, absenteeism goes down. As literacy rates goes up, drug use goes down. As literacy rates goes up, teenage pregnancy goes down. As literacy goes up, crime goes down. As literacy rates goes up, bullying goes down. Y'all see the general theme here is our children have got to be reading on grade level. I want to personally thank the Lieutenant Governor, who's back here somewhere, and his team, the Education Youth Committees in the Senate, the House members, which I see here, and everyone else for making literacy a priority in the General Assembly. I want to do something a little bit different now. I think it's worthy of this. I want each of you in this room, each of you in this chamber, to give yourself a round of applause for supporting our children being able to read in Georgia. That was pretty unusual, wasn't it? I like that. Again, I support this bill, and I thank y'all so much for your effort. And you know what, we're going to continue working on this, Senator. And this is a big deal for all of us, and we'll get parts, and we'll move forward, and we'll look forward to next year when we can have some more literacy bills. Thank you, Mr. President. And again, I support House Bill 1193. Please vote green. Thank you.
Secretary read Amendment 1A.
Mr. President, Senator Setzler, the 37th, offers the following amendment to amend House Bill 1193, Amendment 1A, by restoring the word 7th and striking the word 6th on line 718. Restoring the word 7 and striking the word 6 on line 721. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Recognize Senator from 37th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to thank the Senator for the 16th. There has been a misunderstanding. It was stated earlier that language in the bill was going to change the compulsory attendance age for school in Georgia. The underlying bill, the amendment, does not do that. And I think the gentleman will correct his earlier statement. What the amendment does with respect to changing age 7 to age 6 deals with qualification for certain program funding. It does not specifically lower the compulsory attendance age in Georgia by a year. I say that I'll be withdrawing Amendment 1A because Amendment 1A deals only with qualification for a funding program, not compulsory attendance age. But I will take just a quick second to say the tender age at which kids are required by law to attend school is a big deal. That is not small policy. Thankfully, most parents choose to put their kids in an educational program, whether it's a home study program, private school, or public school. Many kids are going at age 4, most by age 5. It doesn't come down to really what most kids do, but the powers of the state to say you shall be in school by a certain date is a really big policy question that thankfully is not, in fact, addressed by this bill. So with that, I'm going to withdraw Amendment 1A, but again, it was stated earlier that the bill did do that, which should have precipitated quite a response from our members because that would be a very, very big policy shift. That not being the case, Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion here in a moment to withdraw 1A and proceed as we've considered this bill. Much to consider. With that, Mr. President, I yield the will.
Recognize the Senator from 37th.
Mr. President, I'd like to ask unanimous consent to withdraw Amendment 1A.
Is there objection? Objection. Amendment 1A is withdrawn. Senator from the 41st, for what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Point of order. I believe that this amendment is really a substitute, and I'm just asking your ruling on that because our Senate rules do not allow for us to provide a substitute on the floor.
Well, Senator, I'm up here talking to your leader right now, so why don't you come up here and join us real quick? Apparently, we've had a little miscommunication on a couple of fronts, so we're just going to take a break real quick, about a 10-minute break, to hash out that. I like that tie, Senator. You look good today. Very cosmopolitan right there. Look at you. All right, we're going to take about a 10-minute break so we can sort through these couple of issues. All right. And conferees on appropriations. Y'all can go ahead and take your moment too.